Hey, good morning, everyone, and or no one, as is the case. I don't know if this is functional at all. The whole thing. Looks like I'm broadcasting on the YouTubes. Hold on, let me check Twitter. It's early here, and it's late somewhere else because that's the way the Twitters work. And it's not actually showing me anything. Hold on, try again. Yeah, so it's not actually showing a video. I don't know if anyone can see this. Okay, there's JoJo. Hey, Andy. So on YouTube, it's showing a video. On Twitter, it's not. Oh, it's saying it's through Periscope. Twitter said Periscope is gone. I don't know. Good morning, Andy. Congratulations on being first. Lots to do. Lots to do today. Let's see if anyone else has joined us on. Yeah, YouTube's broken. Morning, Stephanie. Okay, people are here. We're broadcasting. We are live. Yay. Oh, Thomas, good afternoon. Good to see everybody. Or not see them, as the case may be. No, it's Cujo's here. Okay, yeah, so we're broadcasting. YouTube says we're not. Twitter's not showing it. Facebook, we haven't been able to connect to Facebook since the other day. I don't know if they fixed it or not, but no one's checked in from Facebook. Some terrible Covfefe this morning. What do you guys want to do? You want to check out Fox and Friends from this morning, or we can look at Hannity from last night, see if anybody interesting was on Hannity. Just general outrage because of a spending package, which will actually be a Make America Better package. That's what it should be called. Build America Better. Again. Build America Great. I'm just looking for anything that Hannity might have here where there's a guest or something that might be of interest to anyone. Here's Ted Cruz. Hold on. Let's see what Teddy has to say this morning. I'm probably going to need some headphones or something. Otherwise, you guys are going to get echo. Hold on. Let me play something and see if you guys can hear it. And if I can hear it and see if there's echo. Hey, Sean. Let's play.
Violation of the constitutional and civil rights.
Oh, you guys can't hear that except through the microphone, and that's no good. I need some headphones, and I know where some are. You guys talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back. I had an audition yesterday, and it was for, I won't even tell you what it was for, just because there's a limited number of entities in that space, and I don't want to give anything away. We're not supposed to talk about, like, I can't say, oh, I did a commercial yesterday. I did an audition for Tab Cola. I don't know if Tab's still around or not, but they're so obscure now that, no, I didn't do. But I'm not supposed to say that. I can say, I did a commercial yesterday for some pop or soda or whatever. Oh, I'm well, Sean. I'm quite well. So I did this commercial yesterday, and I play a dad, which I play in commercials, and I had a little girl, and after it was done, the guy was like, oh, wow, I can tell, like, you really have kids. And I said, yeah, I've got a couple of them. He says, well, yeah, no, I could. It was very apparent because in the commercial, I hand my daughter her gift, and then I just laid it, like, just yelled at her. Why are you such a fucking disappointment? Right, she's 6. And then after, and I really connected. You know, there was no little girl there because it's all imagination. But I really felt like, you know, the whole you'll never amount to anything, like it just came streaming out. And I felt good about it. Speaking of feeling good about things, let's see if you guys can hear Ted Cruz now.
Of all Americans.
Here we go. And you guys can hear that too. Yeah, let's see. Yes, you can. Here we go. Here's the moral outrage of Ted Cruz.
American people, you.
By the way, there was a school shooting yesterday. It was covered while it was happening, and then we found out like one person got shot or 2 people, and someone, I don't know. I don't even know if someone died in the school shooting. That's how little coverage it got. Remember when there was a school shooting and the world would shut down and we'd all be checking out our TVs like, oh, any news? Do we know? Is it... Well, you can see from up here that there's very few ambulances in the parking lot, so that's good news. Let's check out Today in Fashion.
We are not stupid. We see what's happening. They don't approve of it. Look at the latest Quinnipiac poll. Biden's approval rating in the sewers, 38%. Here with more, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator,
that sounds like a Trump rating. Go ahead, Trump.
Let's start with...
Sorry, Ted.
Merrick Garland, and really? Or Terry McAuliffe's comments, parents have no right to...
Really? The Justice Department is going to try to get people to stop threatening public officials?
Have a say about their children's education. Why don't we just hand the kids over to the government? Let them...
No, you can have a say about your kids' education. You want to send them to private school? Go right ahead. They just have to be in school. You want to go into classrooms and say, you're not teaching this book? No, you can't do that.
Raise them.
Morning,
because
Marcy.
Apparently that's what they want.
Marcy, I need you to move to an island that isn't so off to the side. We'll talk about that more later. But I looked up the big island. You're off to the side. You're not in a direct flight path. Like if I was to fly to Australia, you would stop in the middle islands. But you're off doing your own thing. Now, work on that, would you?
Well, in any crisis, someone's character is revealed. And COVID really has shown the character of the Democrats. They are authoritarian.
Yes, they're authoritarian. Because they're trying to give old people hearing aids.
They are jackbooted thugs. There is...
Yeah, look at that jackbooted thug. Put a Hitler mustache on this guy and the picture comes together. Look at the way he's imposing himself by leaning over. I'm going to play him for an audition today. Not this Yahoo. That Yahoo. I have kind of a cool audition today. Kevin Lee Daughter's going to help me with it. I can't talk about it. Maybe I'll show you kids on the Friday night movie.
No decision about your life that they will not try to control, whether that is...
Whether or not you can have an abortion? Is that what they're going to try to control? What state do you represent, Ted? By the way, Supreme Court allowed the Texas anti-abortion law to go through, which says after 6 weeks you can't have one. And deputizes. That's the key thing about the law that everyone seems to ignore. Okay, there's a hair somewhere. God damn hair. Ah! Just going to go without the glasses. I think there's a hair in my glasses, but I can't see it. Because in order to see the hair, I would need to put my glasses on. Do you see how that... That is life. Something about... Oh, yeah. Okay, so the Supreme Court allowed it to go into effect by kind of not doing anything about it. Kind of like a laissez-faire, live and let live. Let's see what happens with this. The trouble with the 6 week is that it goes by the doctor definition of when you got pregnant. And the doctors, they start the clock ticking when your last period ends. But you're much more likely to get pregnant in the middle of your cycle. Wait, here I'm mansplaining menopause. I'm going to stop. And I said menopause because it's got men right at the beginning of it. I'm mansplaining. It's basically, you're probably going to get pregnant 2 weeks after your last period. And then 4 weeks from then, you might realize that you've missed your last one, which is pretty regular anyway, in the sense that it's not regular, but it's... okay. Most women have no idea that they're pregnant by 6 weeks. Unless you're going to give away tests free, so that after 3-4 days, you're testing it on a weekly basis. I don't know that I would trust a test from the dollar store, a pregnancy test. And, by the way... Speaking of 38% approval, remember a month ago when we were promised, on Monday, Amazon's going to have the tests for the COVID, and they're going to be at cost, and Walgreens and Walmart, and let's just look. hold on. Let's pull up the Amazons here. Amazon, and we'll go rapid COVID test. Rapid COVID test. Let's see if that came to fruition, because that's what was supposed to happen. $70, $99. Oh, here's one, $950. But it's a 10-pack. So the tests are only $95 a piece. They're supposed to be $5. They should be free. Excuse me, free. You want to really stop the COVID? Since the very beginning, we've been saying this. Testing, testing, testing. Everyone should have these tests at home. They should be mailed to every American citizen. You feeling a little sick today? Test yourself. If you got the COVID, stay home. Philharmonics here. Hello, everyone. Been a while. Started a new job and back in school. Have missed a lot of the live streams. There haven't been a lot of live streams. So, you really haven't missed much. Marcy says, I was 2.5 months along when kid number 2 before I knew I was prego because the kids were close together. Wow. When you say the kids, are you talking about your... I can't even say it on the air. I'm done. Okay, I'm done mansplaining pregnancy to you guys. Shelly says, saw COVID tests at Walgreens yesterday. Did not look carefully at the package. I did get a couple of rapid tests. The Abbott rapid test from Walgreens. This was weeks ago, before I went up to Seattle. Then I tried to go back and buy them again, completely out. And that was, by the way, I went to that Walgreens to buy those rapid tests. They were about 2 for $23, $24, so about $12 a piece. At the time, that was, I think, the 4th or 5th drugstore that I'd gone to get the test, and they were the only ones that had them. Stephanie was 3 months along and still had her period. Okay. I don't know anything. Let me tell you something about the women's. You guys are weird. I think I've explained that. Here's Ted Cruz.
A vaccine mandate, regardless of your choices. Gavin Newsom trying to order every school kid in California to get a vaccine, regardless of their parents' wishes or whether it comes.
Yeah, that's how public schools work. There's already vaccine mandates at public schools for a lot of different vaccines. Hell, every year I had to get my kids physicals. How dare they make a child take a physical? And guess what? If my kid has some sort of physical ailment that will prevent them from taking gym or sports or whatever, they're not going to spread it to someone who's going to spread it to their grandma. They're going to die. Oh, your son has flat feet. He shouldn't be playing basketball. I don't know. I don't know what other physical... Your son has an enlarged heart. Your son has myocarditis. By the way, Evander Kane from the San Jose Sharks. He's a hockey player. Kind of, he's kind of an a-hole from what I can glean. He's a good player. One of the hardest shots I've ever seen. Not the fastest slap shot, but the hardest slap shot, if that makes any sense. If you play hockey, you know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't make sense. Like, you can't explain it physically. It's one of those sports things where, like, the reaction time of a human is you have to decide whether to swing or not before the pitcher releases the ball, because human brains can't react that, and yet we have baseball. Go Dodgers. Liberty says, I remember having to get boosters when I started working at hospitals. Not uncommon. Yeah, I know. All of this outrage for something we've been doing for 100 years. It's just complete idiocy. And it used to be that there was a difference in viewpoint. Now there's just smart people and idiots. Go Giants. Marcy, get out of here. Judges agree. All of the judges are local. They're in early today, too. I don't know why they started at 7 a.m.
Silencing free speech. You know, at the Attorney General's memorandum this week.
Stephanie says, on Nextdoor, a lot of neighbors are going to homeschooling because they don't want vaccines. I see a lot of undereducated kids coming into society. Well, yeah, that is called the Great American Changeover.
He directed the FBI and the Department of Justice.
You notice how outraged they are that immigrant kids get to go to school for free. The last thing you want to do is fill their head with knowledge.
Justice.
Forget about free college.
to go after parents who are going to school boards, who are expressing dismay that critical race...
No. There is no DOJ incentive to go after parents who are expressing dismay. Expressing dismay does not include following school board members out to the parking lot saying, "We know where you live." Sorry, yelling in a dismayed way, "We know where you live! We know where you live!" I mean, if you did it that way...
Theory, the toxic stew of lies that divides us based on race, that teaches kids that America is inherently racist, that all white people are racist, that seeks to turn us into hating each other on race.
I don't know any schools that teach that.
Racial lines. Parents are understandably upset about that, and the Attorney General told the Department of Justice that those parents at school boards should be treated as threats and as domestic terrorists.
No. If they are making threats, the parents themselves are not threats. I mean, apart from threats to democracy and the downfall of society. But if they're making threats...
and directed the FBI to use all the forces of the federal government against them.
No, it didn't. I've read the letter. There's nothing in there about all the forces of the federal government. Go ahead and use nukes if you have to. If someone is doing something bad in Wichita, if there's a parent in Wichita who's upset because somebody said that she's racist, go ahead and nuke them. Take out the whole neighborhood. Actually, not a bad idea. Judges agree. One of them's from Wichita, that's why.
Today, and you put up just a minute ago the hearing with the head of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, I asked her, I said, do you really think parents at school boards are domestic terrorists? She refused to answer the question. I said, well, do they have any civil rights to express their dismay to their elected officials? The head of the Civil Rights
Yes, they can express dismay. That's fine. They just can't make threats. It's not that complicated.
Division.
But you're talking to a guy who's threatened by everything.
Refused to answer it. Then I asked her, Sean, I said, well, what about Antifa? What about Antifa terrorists?
Yeah, Antifa. You know, the way Antifa is attacking the schools. It was Antifa yesterday, right? That school shooting? Pretty sure it was Antifa.
That are rioting across the country. Are they domestic terrorists?
Rioting across the country? Where are these Antifas? Where are these rioting across the country Antifas, Ted? Talk about feeling threatened. Wow. By the way, threatening the violence at the school board, this is nothing new. It's always been something you're not supposed to do. It's yelling fire in a crowded theater. It's never been protected by free speech.
Refused to answer that. I said, how about Black Lives Matter terrorists that are looting stores and firebombing police cars and murdering police officers? Can we agree that if you murder police officers, you're a domestic terrorist? She said, well, everybody's allowed to have a point of...
Where did this conversation take place? No, that person did not answer that question in that way. I guarantee it. Was he just having a casual conversation? Was this part of the Senate?
View. So the Biden Justice Department looks at terrorists who are...
This is the thing. It's gone from, we need to stop the threat of communism, to now we're going to argue and defend people threatening school board members, threatening Americans. That's where we are. No matter what comes out, it's the end of society. And the right will scream about it till kingdom come.
Murdering police officers and firebombing cities and says, we don't know.
I'm going to shave today just because he's got kind of the same areas of gray that I do. I'm getting rid of all this just because I do not want to devolve into what's happening up here.
Know if they're bad guys, but they look at moms at a PTA meeting and they say, yep, that is the threat in life. It's nuts.
It is nuts because that's not what they're doing at all, Ted.
It's madness. We're going to have a lot more. The great one, Mark Levin, will weigh in tonight. Senator, I want to ask you something here. I have very strong feelings.
It's always so serious. Senator, I want to ask you something here. Just ask.
You tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, but
He won't.
I don't think any Republican was consulted in any way at all, never mind any meaningful way, on the $3.5 trillion in New Green Deal socialism. Now, to pay for that...
Well, how many of the Republicans are relevant? You know, how many of the Republicans actually won the election? I'm sorry, but the Democrats got a hat trick in the last election. The game's over. Lick your wounds. Get ready for the next game.
The Democrats are trying to rely on Republicans to assist them in raising the debt ceiling, or else they won't have the money to spend on
the new Green Deal.
Their socialism, which will destroy this great country.
Will it, though? Will community college destroy this country? Will hearing aids for old folks destroy this country? Will the child tax credit, which, by the way, is already in effect, will that destroy this country? Will people receiving $250 per kid, which halved, cut child poverty rates in half? That's what we've already done. In the Biden administration, we have cut child poverty by more than half. We know that. How? With the child tax credit. We would like to make that semi-permanent. Is that okay? To keep down the child poverty thing? You know, the kids you're always defending. Would that be all right, or would that be the end of society? Because it's already happened. And yet here we are. Society. Libby says, I just paid almost $5,000 for hearing aids for my mom. By the time all of this is done, these are the hearing aids I'm going to be able to afford.
And I don't want a single Republican. I'm a conservative, as you know. I don't want a single Republican assisting them by raising...
Yeah, Sean Hannity is now disavowed Republicanism. He said yesterday he's a registered conservative, not a registered Republican. What? I don't know how you register for conservatism. I believe there's a booth that you can go to somewhere. Probably at a local... I don't go to malls. I haven't been to a mall in forever. So I think now in the malls they have one set up. You go inside. You can register to be a member of Antifa or conservatism. And or Bed Bath & Beyond.
The debt ceiling. And I heard Mitch McConnell might be opening the door to allow that to happen. That's not particularly pleasing to me, and that doesn't sound like...
They are outraged that America is going to pay our bills. That's what the debt ceiling is. Hey, we've spent all this money. Are we going to pay the monthly payments? Nope, we're not going to. We're just going to let the economy crater. America has always paid its bills. That's why the full faith and credit of the United States is a saying. Otherwise, we'd just be deadbeat America.
A small government conservatism to me.
Yeah, look, you're preaching to the choir. I think it is a big, big mistake.
Preaching to the choir, the guy who voted through $9 trillion new dollars under Trump. $9 trillion of deficit under Trump. This guy voted for it. That guy, above there, right there, right there.
As you remember, Sean, the first book I wrote was called A Time for Truth. And the opening chapter of A Time for Truth, the title of it was Mendacity. And it described the Senate Republican lunch where Mitch McConnell asked every Republican to unanimously consent to lower the threshold for the Democrats to raise the debt ceiling from 60 votes to 50 votes. And I raised my hand. I said, listen, there is no universe in which I can consent to that. It's dishonest to the men and women who elected us. There's nothing I've done in 9 years in the Senate that is more enraged leadership than that moment of objecting. And we're right back there again. Again, Republicans are being asked to...
So now Ted Cruz is anti-Mitch McConnell. So this is... we're seeing more and more now the schism of the parties.
Consent to lower the threshold. And this is...
Stephanie says, Sean, have you posted a reply on Kevin's tweet so we can follow you again? I'm not sure what that means.
All because Chuck Schumer is playing political games. Right now, the Democrats have both houses of Congress and the White House. They can raise the debt ceiling, but Schumer doesn't want to, because if they...
No, they can't. Not the way that anybody wants to. because of the filibuster. Yes, they have both houses of Congress. But in order to pass any kind of debt ceiling legislation, in other words, yes, we're going to pay our bills until next December or whatever it happens to be, whatever that date is decided, which is a silly thing to begin with. I mean, come on, we're America. We pay our bills. How about that? How about just having legislation that says we're going to pay our bills no matter what? Has anyone posed that idea? Something to posit? No, nobody has. Because we did this in World War I, and that's just the way we do it. Someone should run on just fixing all of this. Like, not this deed state swamp nonsense, but come up with particulars. Like, oh, the president needs to be held accountable for XXX. Oh, the president can't do this, this, or this. Oh, we're just going to, when the debt ceiling comes up, there is no debt ceiling. We're getting rid of the debt ceiling. The United States will pay its bills no matter what.
Raise it with just Democrat votes, and they actually have to be honest to the voters and say, yes, we're adding trillions in debts to our kids and grandkids. Instead, they want to play a...
That's not what the debt ceiling is. The debt has already been added. They've already been added.
Game that forces Republicans to support their massive debt and their reckless spending.
It was you guys.
Schumer is the one who is threatening a default of the debt. Biden is the one who is threatening a default of the debt.
No, they're not. That's the complete opposite of reality. They want to raise the debt ceiling.
That is reckless. We should
That's idiocy. That's not what's happening, Ted.
Never, ever, ever.
That's the problem, is that there are people out there that are believing this. Oh, it's the Democrats. The Democrats are like, okay, we need to raise the debt ceiling, everybody. Mitch McConnell saying every single Republican senator is going to vote again.
Fault on the debt. And by the way, for years, I've supported legislation called the Full Faith and Credit Act that would say under no circumstances would the United States ever default on its debt.
There. Okay, good. I'm with you. I'm with you, Ted. Where's that legislation?
If a debt ceiling isn't raised, we will continue to pay the interest on our debt, and it will be the big government left-wing spending programs that are cut instead. But the Democrats block it because they want to...
Well, that's why. Because it's an attack on the other programs. So not a solution at all, Ted. Nice try, though.
Threaten a default on the debt to push through more spending.
All right, the music's playing, so they're getting rid of him. Let's see if anybody else interesting was on last night. Some weirdos. Is that Greg Abbott? Probably talking about the Biden border crisis. Let's bring in Greg Abbott. Are they going to ask him about, this would have been just, he's a park ranger now. This would have been just after it was announced that the abortion bill was put on hold, essentially, by a federal judge.
Your National Guard. You have allocated billions of...
It's going to be all border crisis. I hope that they address the issue, because that was the breaking news as of this time yesterday. I know that because I watched the beginning of Rachel Maddow yesterday, which comes on at the same time as Hannity. And at the very beginning of her show, well, she talked about skin cancer. Get yourself checked. And then as soon as she was done with that, she started talking about the Texas abortion bill and the federal judge, putting a pause on that.
State taxpayer dollars to continue building the wall. You even built the wall out of cars. Every single legal...
And then they drove away. So you didn't really build a wall out of cars, Sean.
Legal means that you've been trying to use. You're now dealing with a federal government that not only is not enforcing our laws, but aiding and abetting the law breaking. Is there anything else short of this 10-point plan that you can do up to this point that you haven't done? And how do you get to implement this? And will these governors help you? I know it's a long question.
Yeah, it's many questions. I would like to see like an 8-point plan at some point. Whenever there's a 10-point plan, you feel like some of those points you have to throw those in to get to 10. And I know we're on the deca-based system. Thanks a lot, Greeks. But just how about we just have like a 3 pillars, 4 pillars. That's fine. 5-point plan. But you never see your 6, 7, and 8s. Never forget about a 9-point plan. I would like to see, because then I would know whoever made that list, that's a comprehensive list. There's no wasting around in there.
Well, Sean, very simply, the 10-point plan is what we are urging the president to do, and he can do immediately, but also to show you how swiftly it can be done. I also listed off 10 things that I, as governor of Texas, have already done to show what Biden could do himself. You mentioned that I...
So that's 20 things then. It's a 20-point plan.
Signed a $3 billion budget where Texas taxpayers are paying to do the federal government's job of securing the border. You mentioned that I've deployed thousands of National Guard as well as thousands of Texas Department of Public Safety officers. However, also, we created an entirely new program to arrest and to jail illegal immigrants who are trespassing into Texas. And yes, I have signed the paperwork to ensure that Texas is going to begin to build the...
Well, that's they don't have the authority to do that. Arrest for trespassing and jail for trespassing. By the way, Joe Biden's doing you one better there. If you don't have a legal right to asylum in this country, you're being expelled. Rather than American taxpayers, the people of Texas, the good, hardworking, honest people of Texas, paying to house these trespassers in jail, and you know they're just going to get let out because it's just trespassing. Rather than paying for that, Joe Biden is now flying them into the middle of Mexico. Get out of here. Making it difficult for them to try and come back again. See, that's a solution. As opposed to just putting them in jail, because nobody ever gets radicalized in jail. Take that whole family, throw them in the clink.
The border wall ourselves. But, Sean, there's also additional laws I've signed into effect. I signed a law to crack down and increase the penalties and make it easier to prosecute smugglers who are bringing illegal immigrants into the state of Texas. I signed 9 laws.
Already a crime.
Cracking down on human trafficking. Texas created a new law.
Wait, was it 9 laws? Because then I'm like, yeah, that's what we need. 9 new laws saying that something that we know is bad and is already illegal is also bad.
To go after the manufacturers.
The clink is prison.
And distributors of the deadly drug fentanyl. And also I issued an executive order prohibiting...
Yeah, because fentanyl up until this point was totally legal. So good job there, Greg Abbott.
NGOs
Governor,
from transporting illegal immigrants across the state of Texas.
I don't want to be a naysayer. I appreciate the difficulty and the problem. I appreciate you called up the Guard. I appreciate you've allocated billions of taxpayer dollars for the wall. I appreciate the wall of cars you built. I appreciate the fact that you've had your own officers, you know, on the border chasing people back so they can't get into the country illegally. But Joe Biden is aiding and abetting the law breaking. And at that point...
Oh, that's it, I guess. My internet's decided that we're done.
It becomes their jurisdiction. Okay. Do you have the right, once people are in this country illegally, to then export them back to the country they came from?
Well, no, and no, what he's doing is throwing them in prison for trespassing.
So, Sean, that has occurred already with local law enforcement, even with federal law enforcement. Our officers have arrested people who have been turned back, and what it is, it turns into a revolving door. People will be...
So they've arrested people who've been turned back. If they've been turned back, then they're back. Why are you arresting people in Mexico, Greg? You're not making any sense.
Taken back across the border, and they're not going to stay across the border. They're going to come right back.
Well, then why not fly them farther away from the border so that it's an arduous trek for them to come back every time? That's going to discourage them quite a bit. Oh, that's what Biden has started to do. Well, that sounds like a great idea, but wait a second, I thought the borders were open. Are you sure he's not flying them to Canada?
Many of the more than 50,000 people that we have apprehended for a second time. And so it is a strategy that can be used, but until the Biden administration does its job, it's just going to be a revolving door. We can put people back across the border, and they're going to come right back across some other location.
You know, it's just...
Or the same location. Yeah, that's what's going on, which is why the Biden administration is flying people back to their home country or deep into Mexico. That's what's happening right now, as of last month.
It's sad to
2 months ago now. It was August.
me, and in the middle of a pandemic.
By the way, is anybody else confused as to how it's October already? Does not seem like I don't even know how we're into March at this point, because 2021 has just dragged on. Gonna get a booster shot, by the way. I'm high risk. Even if I wasn't high risk, I'd probably get the booster. More and more studies are coming out saying that, yes, after about 6 months, your protection from the Pfizer shot seems to be significantly lower. Now, not a doctor. I do play one on TV, but take a look at the studies yourself. Do your research. Get on Facebook.
And I've seen that.
No, if you are high risk, according to the CDC, you should get yourself a booster shot. If it's been 6 months since your second Pfizer shot, something to think about.
The cages that are overcrowded, high rate of COVID positivity, even among Border Patrol, and Joe Biden is aided and abetted. I've never seen.
Well, the rate of positivity is plummeting, just like it is everywhere else in the country, too. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the Delta variant goes through a surge in states where it hasn't done so yet. So we're on this sort of 2 month cycle of COVID going up and down, first in one country, then another country, in one state, then another state. It'll be interesting to see if the precautions taken by the states that haven't really been hard hit by Delta yet. It's hard to say what states really haven't, because Delta, unfortunately, was surging almost everywhere, but certainly nothing like it was in Texas and Florida.
Seen anything like it in my life.
Oh, they're playing the music, so that's done. Let's just check and see if there's anybody else. Oh, Mark Levin, he's just complete waste of our time. So righteously indignant about everything. Let's just take a quick look at Mark Levin, like just 2 sentences, and you'll be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Come on. Okay, we're not going to play Mark Levin, I guess. What if we back
And they
up a
didn't
little
go
bit?
after the very exclusive voting laws or restrictive voting laws in Joe's state of Delaware. Now we see the weaponization.
No, the voting laws in Delaware have already been changed. Oh, there's no early voting in Delaware. Yeah, there is. It's already been voted in 2019. They passed it. It begins in 2022. Okay, so for the next election, there's early voting in Delaware.
Of the DOJ. Now they're going to use.
By the way, the whole idea of the Democrats is to have universal standards for voting. And that would include, I don't know, Delaware.
Is the FBI and what? Criminalize parenting because they
Shut up, Sean. We want to hear what Mark has to say.
complain about what's being taught in schools or COVID mandates. Is Terry?
Yeah, this is Mark Levin. You can see he just wrote a book, American Marxism, and there's a poster for American Marxism. In case you don't notice the red and black on white, well, it might be blue. Yeah, I guess it's blue. Red and white on blue, white on red. In case you don't see the book, he also has the poster. And it's an entire book about something that's just a figment of his imagination. Because, no, we don't have American Marxism.
McAuliffe right? Parents should just shut up and take whatever the school gives them?
You know, Sean, I served as Chief of Staff to an Attorney General, Ed Meese, during the Reagan administration for some period of time. It never would have crossed our minds to do anything like this. The Biden Justice Department is made up of Obama retreads, the same Obama administration that unleashed the IRS against the Tea Party, you might recall. These people do not believe in civil liberties at all. They do not believe in competition of ideas or competition, period. What Merrick Garland...
They do.
Has done here is he's trying to create out of the FBI some kind of East German Stasi.
No, he's not.
That's what he's doing. Spying on parents, gathering intelligence on
spying on parents,
tracking parents.
Just like we spied on Trump.
Parents, a special
tracking parents. Here's the deal. If you go to a school board and you threaten public officials, which is already a crime, this is nothing new, then the DOJ will do, I don't know, its job. That's all. All right, so much ado about nothing. Okay, speaking of nothing, it's time to get going with the day here. So I have things to do. You have things to do. I hope you get them done. And I got a ton of auditions to get done. I'm hoping to get them done at some point so that I can spend more time with you guys. So we will maybe see you later today. I still have the Trump Yahoo Finance video, which I think I was the first one to discover on Monday. And I just haven't had a chance to share it with you all. I think that Hal Sparks shared it with you yesterday. So if you want to see it in advance, but I do want to watch it with you at some point because I watched the first 5 or 6 minutes of it, and the gentleman Adam over there on the Yahoo Finance channel, he was challenging Trump on some of his things. Trump is now so desperate for airtime that he's going on with people that will question him. Remember when Jonathan Swan was on HBO for Axios, asking him questions and challenging some of the things that he said? We might see more of that, and those are delightful. So I want to share that. I want to share my experience with you. Okay, guys, we will talk to you later. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and most importantly, be good to me.